After George R.R. Martin updated his Not a Blog website last week, fans of A Song of Ice and Fire began to share their feelings of uncertainty about the fate of his epic fantasy saga. It's not a secret, a lot of us are worried that we'll never see the end of A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's be honest, this has been on the mind of every fan, and it will likely remain that way unless the author is able to complete his work. As you all know, author George R.R. Martin has been writing The Winds of Winter for well over a decade. In fact, it will already be 14 years this July since he has released the latest novel in his A Song of Ice and Fire saga, A Dance with Dragons. Now, you have to remember, The Winds of Winter should have been released before the end of the Game of Thrones television series. He was not able to deliver the novel before the show reached its final season. Now HBO is about to release its third season of House of the Dragon, an entirely different Game of Thrones show, yet George R.R. Martin still hasn't released The Winds of Winter. Although he did get a lot of writing done during COVID, he's obviously gone stagnant once again. He hasn't given us a status update on the novel ever since he said he was 3/4 of the way done, and that was already several years ago. He's always said The Winds of Winter will remain as his #1 focus until it's done. However, it's always the last thing on his mind. It seems rather obvious whenever you actually read his Not a Blog updates. Go back and look at nearly every update that mentions Winds of Winter. He will write 1,000 words about how he's creating all these different shows and films, then at the very end of his blog, he will write maybe a sentence or two about his upcoming novel, almost like it's an afterthought. You have to understand why so many fans are upset about this. He also doesn't like it when the fans say he's almost done, because he knows the official release date is nowhere in sight. In one of his most recent updates, he said, "No, I'm not announcing the release of The Winds of Winter, the 6th volume of A Song of Ice and Fire. I don't want anyone starting any rumors to that effect. I'm so tired of having to issue denials whenever some offhand comment of mine somehow convinces half the internet that the novel is imminent. It is not." He doesn't want anyone saying it will release soon. It's obviously not ready, and I would guarantee he's still only 3/4 of the way done, the same as he was well over a year ago. Ever since he released that update last week, fans are once again wondering what will happen with A Song of Ice and Fire if he's not able to finish it before he's no longer with us. Are we going to see someone else write the ending of his epic fantasy saga? He actually revealed this answer during one of his interviews. Now, before we go any farther, I want to give a big thanks to today's sponsor, Star Trek Fleet Command. If you're into deep lore, complex alliances, and power struggles across galaxies, this game is for you. Like unraveling Westeros' mystery, Star Trek Fleet Command lets you dive into a rich universe filled with iconic officers like Kirk, Spock, and Uhura, and branching storylines. Throughout the game, you'll build a starbase, gather resources, control a fleet of classic Star Trek ships, and assemble a crew from across the entire Star Trek universe and timelines. Right now, if you grab any in-game bundle over $4.99, you'll also unlock Lieutenant Picard, a rare officer designed to help new players in the early game. The game's latest expansion brings fresh content from Star Trek Section 31 that has new missions, powerful ships, and officers never seen before. And just for logging in, you'll pick up daily rewards and unlock Romulan Captain Nero, who boosts weapon damage by 40%. So if you're curious, give it a go. It's free to download on PC or mobile, and you can download Star Trek Fleet Command using the link below or scan the QR code that's on the screen. And don't forget to use the promo code Section 31 to unlock Officer Marcus, who's available until May 31st. You don't want to miss out on this amazing offer. Once again, I have to thank Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring today's video. Now, at the end of the day, I don't like having this conversation. All of us hope he will live well beyond 100 years. However, I can't ignore the fact that so many fans are having this discussion after he shared that recent update. That's why I had to make this video, as a reminder about what he said in regards to who will finish A Song of Ice and Fire after he's gone. Let's have a look at exactly what he said.
Will you ever let others write in the world? I mean, I think of the Star Wars novels that were licensed. Would you ever license others to write in Westeros?
No, not while I'm alive. But, eventually I will not be alive, because Valar Morghulis, all men must die, and I don't think my wife, if she survives me, will allow that either. But one thing that history has shown us is that eventually these literary rights pass to grandchildren or collateral descendants or people who didn't actually know the writer and don't care about his wishes. It's just a cash cow to them, and then we get abominations to my mind like Scarlet, the Margaret Gone with the Wind sequel, or these things that we're the grandchildren or great-grandchildren just see an opportunity to make a buck. I hate to see that, actually. I admire, I've always admired Tolkien, and he's an immense influence on fantasy. And although I've never met the man, I admire Christopher Tolkien, who's his son, who's been the guardian of Tolkien's estate and has never allowed that. Because I'm sure there's publishers waiting in the wings with giant bags of money, just waiting for someone to say, yes, go ahead, let's write Sauron Strikes Back. And I hope I never see Sauron Strikes Back written by some third-rate writer who leaps in at the opportunity.
These are characters who've been with you since 1991. I wondered if there isn't internally almost a desire not to finish the series. I mean, when you write the end, or Finn, or whatever you write at the end of Westeros, the tale, is there a desire to keep it alive?
I think when I get to the end, I may very well feel some of that. It's going to be very hard to say goodbye to some of these people, the ones who are still alive. But at the same time, it's going to be immense relief because the pressure of this, I do feel a story needs a beginning, a middle, and an end. And to put an end on this will be an immense monkey off my back. I joke about that on my blog, about all the monkeys on my back, the projects I've said yes to, and one of the monkeys is King Kong, and that, of course, is A Song of Ice and Fire. So King Kong has bowed me down, and it'll be nice to get Kong off my back and to have it done at last, and know that I've completed the entire thing.
As you can see, George R.R. Martin said he doesn't want anyone finishing his A Song of Ice and Fire saga. He has basically sealed the fate of his greatest work. He might be able to release The Winds of Winter within the next 5 years, but I don't believe he will be able to finish the whole saga. Remember, Winds of Winter will not be the last novel in his A Song of Ice and Fire series. He still has to write A Dream of Spring. If it ends up taking him over 15 years to finish writing The Winds of Winter, how long will it be before he's able to write A Dream of Spring? Does he have another 15 years of writing in him when he's already 76 years old? Unfortunately, unless he's able to drastically alter his writing habits, I think someone else is going to need to help him finish A Song of Ice and Fire. Let's also not forget the fact that A Song of Ice and Fire might need more than 7 novels in order to complete the story. Although he doesn't want anyone else finishing A Song of Ice and Fire, history has shown us that someone eventually will. That's basically what he said during that interview. He doesn't want to hand it over to someone else in his family. He essentially wants the story to die with him. That would obviously be a very tragic fate, not only for the amazing author we have all grown to love, but his incredibly well-written story as well. A Song of Ice and Fire must have an ending, even if the original author isn't able to write it himself. I'm sure most of you are already aware of the fact that other fans have been writing the ending themselves, whether it's with the help of AI or other members of the fandom. We've already seen this happen with many other literary works over the years. I can only hope this will motivate George enough to finish it on his own, that way it doesn't happen to his greatest work. Another thing he revealed during that interview is how he does find it difficult to let go of his story. This has likely already had an effect on his writing. It might be one of the things stopping him from writing the ending. I'm sure the final season of Game of Thrones hasn't helped him either. He must have felt very disheartened after he saw how all the fans reacted. Remember, he has said the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire will be very similar to the show. I'm sure there are a lot of other factors stopping him from finishing A Song of Ice and Fire. Now, I want to ask all of you this. How many of you would actually want another author finishing A Song of Ice and Fire? Are there any other authors you would accept as sort of a ghostwriter? I think most of us assume he already has a lot of chapters written for the final novel, as well as a lot of notes about each character's storyline and their ending. If that is the case, then he would really only need another author to fill in the blanks. However, what if he doesn't have any notes written down? What if he doesn't already have something set aside for the final novel? How many of you would want another author writing the entire ending on their own? I'm not so sure I would want that, even if it was in the hands of another great author who had read all of A Song of Ice and Fire. I want the full story that's inside of his head, the one he started all the way back in the early 90s. I could accept another author finishing his saga with his notes and loose chapters, but I don't think I would want someone else writing the full novel on their own. Unfortunately, at the end of the day, we have to be realistic about the situation he's in. He still doesn't have a release date for The Winds of Winter, and as far as we know, it might be another decade before he's able to finish the following novel, A Dream of Spring. I know I'm not the only one who thinks we may never see the ending of A Song of Ice and Fire. What I want to know is, what would you like to happen if that day should ever arrive? Do you want someone else finishing A Song of Ice and Fire, or should it be left alone? Leave me your thoughts down below. Once again, I want to thank all of you for watching. I also want to give another shout out to Star Trek Fleet Command for sponsoring the video. Their link is down below in the description. You don't want to miss out on their exciting new game. Also, make sure you subscribe if you want to stay up to date on everything that's happening in the Game of Thrones and A Song of Ice and Fire fandom. I will be making new videos about House of the Dragon Season 3, the first season of the Dunk and Egg series, the Game of Thrones movie, or the upcoming series about Aegon. There's a lot more videos heading your way. As always, have a great day everyone. I will see you again very soon. Bye.